Hey, I'm just coming in. Sorry I'm late. Sorry, I'm late. Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back from the brand new video and it's new manager day. Is everybody excited? It's terrifying. Like, it's actually terrifying filming this video because I know what the comment section is going to be like. But again, I know we've already referenced it. We are a little bit late to this one. It's not breaking news, as it was dropped late last night by some media outlets and then it sort of spread from there. But you know me, you know we like to sit and discuss when things are officially announced. We make one rumour video on the subject. We didn't rip the piss out it by putting loads of videos out in it. We put one rumour video out there, we let it go out there and we see if it turns out anything. And if it does, we go ahead and then talk about it when the club's officially announced it. So I wanted to wait till this morning, or wait, I was expecting the 12 o'clock, but maybe just a sign of what Rangers know this reaction is going to be, because I've never ever seen a managerial announcement come at 8 AM and leaked out the back door the night before to sort of prepare people for it, to sort of try and limit the madness around the noise and to stop this snowball of negativity and maybe even toxicity, if people want to say, that has been spiralling since it became pretty clear that Russell Martin would be the manager. I think there's been some precautions put out there, and again, it's crazy that we're doing this because just a few days ago every Rangers fan was smiling from here all the way up to here. I was almost telling you how I got those scars. That's how big the smile was. Yet now, after just a few days, that goodwill by a lot, that buzz, that excitement for a lot of the fans has been crumpled up and smashed all the way down as people are either annoyed, frustrated or even deflated. And I'm talking about Tom Brady's balls deflated. You're welcome, American subscribers. Thank you for joining the channel. But again, I get it, right? I get why people are frustrated. I get why people are worried about the potential of Martin being the boss, because again, he wasn't on anyone's top 5 list, I'd argue. And I know I used this line in the Russell Martin rumour video, but he has sort of been the ugly duckling of the managerial search. You know what I mean? We preferred Ancelotti, we even preferred Gerrard, well, some preferred Gerrard. There was other names getting flung out there. We fantasy booked it in our own brain to even mention the likes of Jose Mourinho. So I think when you start to pile that up and when you start to think about Jose and then you look at it and we go Russell Martin, people are rightly gone mental. But see, the only thing I would say about that is the club never spoke to Jose Mourinho. That was us in our brains building that up on social media and feeding into that expectation and that excitement. All the club's done over the last couple months, ladies and gentlemen, is interview candidates they believe are right for this club. And after looking at even some of the names we mentioned, like Ancelotti, I'm speaking to Gerrard, I'm speaking to these boys, the best person they think and the best candidate they believe to take the club forward in this head coach role, which is very, very important, is Russell Martin. Despite it not being in our top 5 list, despite him not being in my top 10 lists of Russells or Martins, and I'm talking about the wee yappy dogs in that bad boy as well, I didn't love this, and I'm no sitting to try and convince anybody, but what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it wouldn't have been my pick, but it's been the club's pick, and we championed the people they've brought in to this club, the expertise. We want strong leadership. We didn't want Pals Act, we didn't want cheap hires, we didn't want Friends Act. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's quite clear that this one is named the one, right? And any speculation or, oh, we went for the cheap option, again, it is just speculation. There's nothing to suggest that, because Russell Martin has already said numerous times, even in the Gary Lineker podcast, which is well worth a listen now, especially as the Rangers manager, he has had numerous offers since that. He's still well regarded as a head coach, because again, not only just like us, but other clubs are now drawn to managers that have a clear philosophy and a clear style, because they know exactly what they're going to get. That airy mystery of what happens if we bring this guy in the door. They like managers now, like a Russell Martin, who has got a style of play and they can envision where it's gone. And you didn't need to take that for gospel, because you can go ahead and just pay attention to what the clubs went ahead and done, because that's exactly why he's been brought in here, because they know how the team will look under Russell Martin, and that's what the people in and around the building that we were all excited about finally tidying up the mess has decided to grab a broom that's Russell Martin and say this is the guy to start doing it. So that's me done talking about the controversy, because I want to move away from it. We've just announced a manager. I want to talk about the players. I want to talk about the players I'm expecting to be brought in and those that's expected to go out. And again, his role of the head coach tells you everything you need to know about the way our club is structured now, and it's much better than it was in previous, and it's much more in line with the top clubs around the world. Because do you notice it's head coach? Do you notice it's no manager? Do you notice that type of references? It is the head coach, and that's what he's getting brought in today, is to coach this team. He's not dealing with transfers, he's not dealing with any of that stuff. That's the other people that's now been brought into the club. That's Kevin, that's Dan, that's guys that's brought in who's experienced with that. So Russell Martin's only objective is to coach the way he wants them to play and get them ready for the weekend and set them up to hopefully win a lot of football games. People looking at his transfers or the lack of transfers or the hit and misses and that doesn't matter. What we should be looking at is something that he's heavily praised for, and that is developing young players and developing players, changing around, and his man management. All his other distractions have been removed. He's just there to develop and improve this Rangers team in terms of their player style and what they can do on any given weekend. And I think if you ask any Rangers fan in the entire world what they want to see, it's a much better standard of football. Well, Russell Martin will hopefully bring that. And again, like him or loathe him, his coaching ability is his biggest and best attributes. That's why he's been brought in to the Fitbit Club. It is that man management, right? There is a lot of talk about his philosophy, and I get that because it is his way or the highway, and you either play Russell Martin football or you sit on the bench until you're shipped out of the club. That's the way he operates, right? Plan B is today, plan A better. It can be a negative, but again, he's got a clear identity of what he wants. And I sit and think all the positive stuff I've seen regarding the players that play for him. No, the ones that's got kicked out the club or moved for the club or sold or that during his reign, because that shows you how ruthless he can be as well. If you're not buying in to his philosophy and not playing his style, he just doesn't play you. And it doesn't matter if you're a big earner or a fan favourite, he's not afraid to make the controversial decision. He will put what he believes his best team that's going to play his style, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not up to it, you just didn't play. That's caused a wee bit of friction with fans and that in the past, but clearly he's strong enough to go ahead and do that. And what you're actually able to find is the boys that do go ahead and play for him, the starting 11, the boys that are relied on for the bench, that tight-knit group that he goes ahead and creates, they're ready to run through brick walls for him. And that's what players are saying. The ins, it's actually worked well in the building. And I sit and think as a Rangers fan, right, I didn't love this or anything like that, but the fact that I'm going to see that type of connection again between the players and the manager might be exactly what we need, because I'm sick to death of year after year after year watching when things get tough, they throw their toys at the pram, they start to sleepwalk, they aren't fully committed, they chuck another manager under the bus. I'm sick of watching that, ladies and gentlemen, each and every single year. So finally to have someone that has that ruthless nature saying, if you didn't play or if your standards drop, you're just gone there. That might be exactly what we need, especially in a new era, especially where we want to go, and especially as fans, we are screaming for an overhaul of the squad and for certain people to get dropped no matter their name or their wage. Well, you've now got the manager now, you either buy in or you get sold. And that's something I think it is worth talking about. Again, there is always going to be negatives, there are always going to be drawbacks, there are always going to be nervous, but we've not seen him manage a single game where he's not even doing a training session yet people have said he's already failed. I just think it's a wee bit harsh in my opinion, despite again me no being his biggest fan. I'll probably say something here that is very controversial. I think a lot of the reaction has been an overreaction. I think it has reached the point that it shouldn't have actually reached to, because I think no matter who the manager was selected this season, I think they were in for a tough task, because again there is that positivity. Maybe Ancelotti would have got a better wave of the fan emotion, maybe Gerrard would have even got a better wave of that emotion than what Russell Martin is getting. But we all know if they went ahead and lost the opening day of the season, what would you say about Ancelotti? Oh, that's what happened, you bring in an inexperienced manager, you get inexperienced results. It was a disaster picking a guy that's never managed before. If we had picked Gerrard and he lost his opening game of the season, you never come back, you never go back. We should never have done this before. The players aren't buying in because he'll be away at the first offer for down south. No matter who we'd have been selecting this summer, the first loss would bring the knives. It's just unfortunate for Martin, those knives are actually a bit more machetes right now, as no a lot of people are excited. But again, people screaming saying, "I'll wait till he loses his first game." Well, Rangers Football Club, doesn't matter who's in the dugout. You lose 2 games and it's an absolute crisis. One of our best managers of all times went ahead and said that. So I don't feel like we should wait till he loses a game. It's going to turn the fans away and everything like that. Well, it'll happen no matter who the gaffer was, in my personal opinion. It's just a bit louder because Martin was here for 6 months. About 8-9 years ago. You know, I've just started laughing to myself there because I sound like a massive Russell Martin defender and a massive Russell Martin lover, and I'm genuinely no, but I just feel like I've got to say at least some positive stuff, because 90% is negative right now. This guy's getting absolutely blasted through all angles, and again, there is stuff there if you want to try and counter, because there is negatives, there is cons, absolutely, but there is a couple wee things there you can put in to try and balance that scale out, which I feel like is fair to do now, especially that he is our manager, right? And speaking about his play style, I know we kind of broke that down in terms of the rumour video, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but it doesn't really matter in terms of formation. He's not got a set formation, whether it's the 4-3-3 or the 4-3-2-1 or the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2. I've seen him play massively different formations, right? I've seen him play 4-3 one week for Swansea, then it drops to the back 5 for no reason 3 days later, and you're like, alright, okay. But again, it's all about finding and getting that extra man and creating that space. He looks at each and every single team that he's up against and figures out the best way to hurt them in the way he wants to play. That, yes, is possession style football, but it is so high pressing, it is piling people forward, it is winning the ball high up the park and holding the ball right there. It does build from the back, but it's no passing about the back for the back's sake, you know what I mean? One of the biggest worries I've got genuinely is the way that he uses his goalkeepers. They're almost like in a back three, that they come up and they just sit there because they've got to have the ball, and again, because it's the goalie and it's the 2 centre backs, and then everybody else is in the other end of the park. They're in the opposition half, and that's almost a back three using your goalie. And when I think of Jack Butland, even when I think of Liam Kelly, when I think about our goalies, do I think they're comfortable enough on the ball to do that? No, I didn't, and that is scaring me to death. But again, that is so aggressive and it's so attacking that, again, a lot of us have been praying for attacking football, for that wrist style of football, piling people forward, right? And people always slam that he has only got one style of philosophy and one style of that, and I get it, ladies and gentlemen, but there has been someone else in Scottish football over the last couple of years to have one style of philosophy, and it worked out pretty well, and his name, which was Ange Postecoglou, who didn't play the exact same way, but it was all built to attack, it was all piling people forward, and it was used for fast, athletic players to bomb up and obviously back down. Now, ironically, Ange Postecoglou, just like Russell Martin, has failed to install that in English football and make it a success week in and week out, as they did finish 17th in the league. But again, it did work up here, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, there is a gulf equality in terms of what we should be able to put on the park than 90% of Scottish football, and I think you saw that work wonders with Angie's Celtic team versus what he played and battered and scored and scored and scored. And all I can hope, ladies and gentlemen, is the same type of football, the same type of attacking football will bring the same type of attacking results, and that's goals, 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 and it's really hurting these low block teams. And someone I said in my rumour video that he's actually got a good record versus the low block and he can hurt them. A lot of people went after me and said that would be disgraceful if he's just keeping the ball, but again, in his career he has got a very, very good record versus the low block. That's one of his best attributes, as being a Southampton manager in the Championship versus the low block. You can go ahead and look at the statistics. I believe he only lost 3, which again, 3 is still massive for a team like Rangers, but you know the Championship sides, they all kind of bite off each other. It's the most competitive league in the world in my personal opinion, because anybody can win it. From about 1st to about 14th, any of them in any given year can go ahead and win it, right? And again, pulling it back to Scottish football, when there is that gulf, if you are able to really hurt these low block teams, if you are strangling, if you're no letting them settle, if you're no giving them time, if you're putting people in the attacking areas, if you're filling gaps in there instead of just having a structured, rigid 4-3-3, one's there, one's there, one's there, and then everybody's in midfield, if you just go and have 5 in the line with the back 5, and then you're gambling that, is it risky? Aye. Is it maddening to watch? Aye. But it can also bring you goals, and it can also rip the low block. So you're talking about a guy that's praised for his man management, for developing relationships with the players, getting them to buy in, keeping them with the manager, and is very, very good in his career against the low block. I wonder on earth why Rangers have picked him as the next Rangers manager. And it truly is the latter for me. It is the low block. That's where we've been struggling. You look at last season, we had a pretty good head-to-head record with Celtic. We never lost the league up in matches against Celtic. Do you know where we lost the league? When we couldn't win for 3 months at home, dropping points, getting beat here, beat here, beat here, and getting beat by the teams, with no disrespect, we should be able to beat, especially at Ibrox. So to get someone who is coaching teams to get beyond the likes of that, again, it all sort of makes sense despite us not loving the appointment. But can I just ask you a question, like, Jenny, and I know I keep going round this. See, if he wasn't here for 6 months as a player and being a part of that frustration and failure, do you think the reaction would be as negative as it actually is now? I think that is a sprinkling on top. Again, his winning percentages at his other clubs isn't exactly great, but not every single one of them was supposed to win every week. You know what I mean? The fact they got relegated for the Premier League or anything like that, the guy who just managed a team that won the league title last season for Celtic got relegated for the league as well. That's kind of where we are. You know what I mean? Rangers and Celtic are both now managed by someone who has been, or who has took the team down in the Premier League. So I don't think it is fair again to keep chucking that at me either. Southampton was up again. Look at every team that comes up for the Championship. Are they staying in the Premier League now? Nah, the gulf is too far, and aye, he could have made himself a bit better. Aye, he could have helped himself if he did change his philosophy and stop playing out for the back, but he's not the only manager to do that. Every manager that goes up goes ahead and does that. Now, the likes of Vincent Kompany and that for Burnley, it's just the way these managers are. That's how they're built to work, that's how they're built to operate. And again, as a Rangers fan, I'm sitting here with more hope than expectation that it somehow translates and everything just works out well, because again, that's just what I want to see. Now, the last thing I do want to say, ladies and gentlemen, if we are bringing a Russell Martin in, or I should say we have brought a Russell Martin in, what this screams to me is there is going to be a massive injection of players brought in to this club. Probably some from his previous club and that as well. But if you're looking at a Russell Martin style of football, we've already touched on this, but it doesn't translate well to a lot of your squad because they aren't fast enough, they aren't fit enough, and it's not the way they're built to actually play. There is a couple people in there. I think they like, say, Raskin. I think they likes even the Diomandis, and that could fit in. It would be interesting to see how Jeff Day goes ahead and do. Big Jeff, if he's going to be able to bomb up and down. But the other areas, especially the other fullback, and I'm not turning into a Tavernier thing, but that one to me screams a major change, because Tav 3-4 years ago would have been perfect for this formation, but Tav now screams a major weakness, especially the lack of mobility to get up and down the old park. And again, Russell Martin isn't a guy to say, right, I'll tuck someone in here, I'll sacrifice the midfield, I'll have him babysit here, I'll have this centre back here covering his job. That's not it, because he doesn't compromise on what he wants his team to look like. So you'll see the centre backs playing the centre back, you'll see the midfielder playing that, and what we need for that fullback is to be able to bomb up and down and up and down. So again, I'm expecting some big changes this summer. And again, the good thing is I think Raskin fits his team perfectly now, and I think that could elevate him and kick him on and make him worth even more money if he continues his trajectory that he's been on the last 12 months. So that is a positive, and hell, he could do a positive by announcing that is the future of our club. There's the armband, son. You're my number one guy. You're going to be my main guy in my team and to take us forward. It could get a wee bit of freshness to this negativity, but that's it for me. Again, coaching, all good, and I think the players will not 100% fit this team, so I'm expecting players to leave, and I'm expecting players to be brought in, maybe even a familiar favourite by the name of Sausage Joe. That would be very, very interesting. But that is what I've got to say about this entire Russell Martin situation. Would it have been my pick? No. Am I buzzing about it? No. But I think some of the reactions overblown and a bit mental. Aye. Has he got the tools to potentially be a success? Aye. Has he got the tools to also potentially be a failure? Obviously, we've seen it in his previous clubs the way it's kind of fizzled out. But every single managerial appointment is a roll of the dice. We thought Clement with the perfect CV and the winning tradition and back-to-back league titles in Belgium and blah 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 was perfect. He fizzled out. We thought Michael Beale, the brains behind Gerrard's 55, the word of the mouth, all this stuff was going to be fantastic. He fizzled out. And we even thought bringing back a familiar favourite by the name of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would bring us the success in league football that we needed. And unfortunately for Gio, even though he was let down by the board at that time in terms of his signing, wasn't able to crack Scottish football, as his style was a horseshoe, playing a lot for the back. Well, just picture the horseshoe, right? Think of the horseshoe. Remember when we used to do that? Yeah, flip it. That's the way Russell Martin plays on occasion, and by God, can it look great, but by God, can it look horrendous as well. We need fast athletic centre-backs, we need a lot more fast players in our team, so I'm expecting a busy summer. But that's my thoughts and opinions on it. No matter how it goes, I imagine it's going to be a wild ride, and hopefully we're all smiling all season. Go on, I love it, you know what I mean? Knowing his history and what he went through and the way he grew up and the things he had to deal with, his mentality, his approach and everything like that. There is something in there you can get behind if you really want to, and willing to step into this firing line, again, tells me he's got a wee bit of sun, because there have been easier jobs with easier money elsewhere that he could have taken, but he's took this one. So aye, it's a sink or swim situation. I can only hope he swims, because that means we're a success. But aye, I'm done and dusted. I know this video is too long, but that's my opinion. I'll hopefully have covered everything you have been screaming at me down in the comments section below. And until next time, I've been Cajun092. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck, Mr. Martin, and bye.